All right, so I'll explain the chat. So today we got Lobster on here. We're going to be like discussing the upcoming tournament, 3-deck 1 ban series, and like sort of our thought process on how we pretty much build our decks and lineups for like previous tournaments when it was like me, Lobster, and Presto. We would get into a chat like the day before tournament and sort of try to figure out what we'd want to bring. Literally just the day before tournament. That's literally what I think every time. And it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, usually it's like 1 or 2 days before the tournament. But also with new patches, I mean, the meta changes every day until the tournament. So it's really weird to do this long time in advance.
What, like the first thing we do, like what's just like the 3 best decks that we think that people are going to bring? Usually it's pretty easy. We found like 2 decks, right? Like two decks seem very obvious, and it's always hard to figure out that 3rd deck before Targon because of like less regions. But I think with Targon now, it probably would be a lot easier now, right? To actually build like 3 solid decks.
Yeah, so the 2 most sensible ones, which most people are probably going to bring, also because a lot of people brought it to the Reckoning tournament, TF Swain and some Invoke deck. Whether it be like Azol or like Azol Leona, Azol Trundle, Leona Lux, Leona Karma. I mean, they're all somewhat similar, right?
So, like, yeah, I think without a doubt, TF Swain is like the highest one that we could predict. Like, if we could build a lineup to counter that deck, I'd be pretty happy. I don't think that's possible or viable, right?
No, there's literally no. It wasn't even possible with the 2-deck lineup.
Yeah, so like TF Swain seems like everyone's gonna bring this, and this isn't a deck you can hard target. So like back in before when there was a similar situation a while back when Bannerman was at its peak. That's sort of where Twisted Fate Swain is. Like, we know everyone's going to be bringing it like 80-90% plus of the field. The difference was Bannerman you could hard target. You could bring 3 decks to hard target it, and you could actually, each deck could have like 80-90% plus win rate versus that deck because of the way it plays. Twisted Fate Swain is in the same region, the same amount of prediction, but we just can't target the same. Like, if we target it, we could maybe get somewhere like 60-70% peak versus that deck, and that's like hard targeting it, and it's just not, it wouldn't even be good enough then. And I don't even know if you could get 70%.
Yeah, not even 70.
Yeah,
it would probably be 60 if you hard tech, I don't know, a Scouts list or something.
So one thing that is definitely a question is when we have a deck that do we want to build a lineup when we have a deck like Twisted Fate Swain that we know everyone's going to be bringing and we have a ban? The question is like, do we actually just want to ban this deck and build our lineup with that in mind? That would probably be one of my first questions.
Yeah. And that depends on what kind of lineups we build. So we should look at some which leave it open and are happy to play around against it, which I'm not sure if they exist a lot, or we always ban Swain Twisted Fate.
Yep.
So I'd say banning Swain Twisted Fate is probably the easier way, but I could also see a triple aggro lineup that always bans Targon. Like, you bring Endurers, always ban Targon. Bring MF Scouts, bring discard aggro.
So we know like Targon plus Evoke's probably the second strongest deck, and there's a bunch of decks that go with that you said. So there's Freylord, right? Which would be the ramp. There is Ezreal, which would be P and Z. There's Karma, which would be Ionia.
We got a lot of Demacia.
Is there any other regions that go with the Invoke deck? Well, with the Targon?
Demacia.
Oh, Demacia Invoke?
Yeah. Probably like Leona Azol is probably better with the Demacia splash than with the Freyr splash. For single combat and concerted strikes.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. So that's like, that comes under Leona, right? With Leona Splash.
Or Leona Lux, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely the Demacia is worth thinking about because it would allow us to play Radiant Guardian, which is very polarizing in like a lot of matchups, right? And this also comes down to if we're predicting a lot of people to bring aggro, then like the Radiant Guardian would be a good Leona plus that would be a good one. All right. So Twisted Fate, Targon Invoke plus a 3rd deck. So that's the question. So this is our baseline. So this is like what we would just bring as like our strongest deck or like lineup, right? Like, we're building our strongest lineup right now, right? So we would bring like Twisted Fate Swain plus a Targon Invoke plus X region, and then we want to figure out what our 3rd strongest deck is, not using Targon, and then that leaves us what region we could mix with Targon. Like if our third or strongest deck is like Freylord, PNZ, then that would allow us to play like Targon plus Ionia and see how that lines up as a concept.
Yeah.
So what do we
I could see
the third deck?
Like I could see as Karma and always ban TF Swain. Makes sense. And you run as Karma with like a health pot or two. And like Eyes of the Dragon. Oh, probably only one Will, maybe one Whimsy. That would be one idea. What else could we do?
I'm writing it down. So I think as Karma's the first one, and then I can also include it would be as Karma would take out PNZ and Ionia. That would leave our Targon deck to be either the ramp deck or the Leona splash deck. So if we did as Karma, what are we banning? Swain Leviathan?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Reasonable. So if the ramp what's the difference between bringing like the ramp one or the Leona splash one? So like what's the matchup differences? So they're both pretty good versus aggro from my understanding, right? Or do you think the ramp deck isn't?
I gotta admit I haven't done enough testing yet. So against pure aggro, let's say we are facing someone who brings Endures, discard aggro, and scouts. I'm not even 100% sure which list I would prefer. Probably the Trundle ramp list with like 2 or 3 Ice Quakes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The Ice Quake's so strong, hey?
Yeah, it's literally. I still think it's not a good card by itself, but in that deck, only in that deck, it's just good.
Yeah, the fact that you can like play the Warding Stone into it's pretty strong.
Exactly. Yeah.
You literally just win you the game.
So like if we want to cover up weaknesses, which would probably be getting smorked, I think the the Trundle ramp list makes more sense.
Yeah, so the Leona Splash has like more mid-rangey cards though, and has like Radiant Guardian.
Yeah, that's true. I gotta admit, I never played the list with the Demacia Splash. If you play the Leona list with 3 Radiant Guardians, you're probably doing pretty well as well. And then you'll probably only run like 1 or 2 Concerted Strikes, because since there aren't as many, or there aren't any Leviathans you play against, you don't need Concerted Strikes quite as much.
Yep. All right. So I got as Karma plus Leona Splash or Ramp. I think that's what would come down. I would try to figure out that. What's another third deck that we would want to bring besides like as Karma if we weren't? Because we don't have Targon. So the regions that we don't have are Targon, Noxus, and Bilgewater. So we have like PNZ, Shadow Isles, Freylord, Ionia, Demacia to work with.
I've been thinking about another interesting thing, but I couldn't build a full lineup around it yet, which would be bringing Deep End as Karma. Like, if you could bring 3 good combo decks to just like shoot out all the Targon decks that are gonna be brought,
okay,
it would make sense. But like, what's your third combo deck? Because you can't play TF Swain and Deep side by side.
Yeah, I know. I was about to say that. Yeah. Karma, Deep. What regions do we have left after that?
We have Demacia, Freljord. Wait, let me write this down.
PNZ Iron is out. Shadow Isle, Bilgewater. So we have Noxus, Targon. Oh wait, we have Targon. Oh, I wonder if you'd ever do. No, yeah.
Targon and Noxus, yeah.
And Freylord, Demacia. Targon, Noxus, Freylord, Demacia. So like, is Ash Sejuani ever an option here to bring that back?
Yes, but is it good against control decks?
Yeah,
so I'm looking at Ash Sejuani, or you just bring like your own Invoke list.
Yeah, Invoke.
I mean, you could bring your own like Trundle ramp list and hope to go over the top of other Invoke lists.
Yeah, so the way you would build that with that deck, right? You would actually build it super greedy. Like, right? Like, you wouldn't play Icequake, right? With an Ez Karma Deep, because we're giving up aggro anyway, right? If we are going to go Trundle ASOL?
Kind of true. You just need to consider like the idea behind it is still banning Swain TF.
Okay. Gotcha.
Wait. Sounds.
Oh, your sound's so different now. No, I can't hear you, bro. Nope. No, now I can sort of hear you. Hello?
All right.
Yeah, now we're back. We're
Is it-
good. What was that?
Yeah, my cable is kind of. I'm not sure if it broke or something.
Oh,
It's a bit
no.
buggy. Anyway,
alright. Yeah, I think that seems
mean,
like a solid
in-
lineup, right? Thieves, Karma,
Yeah,
Trundle, ASOL.
yeah, we'd have to ban TF Swain still, since it generally beats all of our decks. But
So,
then
okay,
the
so,
interesting part.
yeah.
So you go.
I was gonna say I think a common lineup could be like TF Swain, Scouts, and like a Shadow Isle aggro deck, right? That seems like
What kind of scouts though? Like you mean Lulu scouts or?
It could be. Yeah, no. Well, Scouts is like Oh yeah, because you're playing MF, right? You're saying yeah, so you can't do that. Yeah, Lulu
Yeah.
Scouts actually. Like that deck's pretty strong and aggressive actually. Or just actually, sorry, not Scouts. Actually, just go Lulu Demacia.
Yeah,
that actually
it's not
seems
much
like a
worse.
strong lineup.
Yeah, for sure. Wait, what would the third deck be? You said
It'd be like
Ice
Shadow
aggro.
aggro. Yeah, so this could be like there's a bunch to choose from. There's like the Doom Burm deck that I was playing, or there's like Nyx deck, like the Fearsome thing. You just can't use Noxus, so yeah. But there's a few different Shadow Isle aggro decks right now.
Yeah.
And there's also you can even do the Shadow Isle deck with Targon too if you want to, right? Yeah, you can. You can even do the Diana Shadow Isle deck because we're not using Targon.
Yeah, but generally, our conclusion is we see a lot of TF Swain, a lot of Invoke, and a lot of aggro, and maybe some like a couple of S Karma type of lists, like a few combo lists, maybe deep, maybe S Karma a bit, but that's gonna be less. So yeah, we built our lineup like primarily the first focus is it should have good matchups into the decks we're most expecting to see. And the second priority is it should just be good decks overall to deal with random shit we might not expect.
One thing I would worry about, so if you bring as Karma though, right? I don't know if I do like banning the Swain that strategy. Because I feel like as Karma, is it hard to beat like the Targon region or no?
With S Karma, I think it's probably the worst matchup for Targon. I'm not quite sure.
Oh really? Okay. Yeah, I was worried about their silences as well and like their Ezreal mirror match. Like because they have like Hush and access to like the invoked silences, but yeah, I could see S Karma just being like,
I mean, the silences don't do anything. Yeah, I mean, you need to stick both your champs and need to get priority. You need to get the action once, but you don't need to do anything else. Like, literally, it's so easy to kill them at burst speed, right?
Yeah, I did find as Karma good versus the ramp deck too, by the way. Like I felt fine in that matchup.
Yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
fine.
The ramp deck should be easier than Leona. Leona can still output some early pressure, but you do have, if you run like 2 or 3 Steel Tempests and 3 Concussive Palms.
I think I would
Should be
rather
fun.
verse the Leona deck, to be honest, than the ramp one. Because the ramp one, like the only scary part is them getting out ASOL early and then flipping it, and then they're just like, because if they play like if you're on evens, right? So on your turn 8, then they can play like ASOL, and then they go in their attacking turn with a level up ASOL. That's probably how you lose the game. I would like that's
True.
because the
But
spell
also-
shield and that, yeah.
I mean, you can use all your removal for Wording Stones and Faces of the Old Ones, because you can just stun Trundle in the mid game and whatever else unit they play.
You think the
And-
ramp deck plays Faces of the Old One?
Not generally, but some people
Yeah.
are going to bring it for sure if you go Omega Greedy. Yeah, all I'm saying is as long as they don't draw like double draw Catalyst of Ian's, you should be fine. And also, even if they drop ASOL, I mean, you ping it with Static Shock and will it. That ends your opponent's turn. Like it's not an auto loss once.
So I think I like I think I've got 2 lineups in mind. I think it's either like the TF Swain then the Lulu, like plus like Lulu. Well, is there a third aggro deck that we'd rather play instead of like TF Swain? Like having what's the triple aggro lineup right now? So it'd be
Endorse, discard, and scouts.
do a discard scouts.
And I think you'd ban Targon with that.
Ban Targon. Is you like Endure more than any of the like other Shadow Isle aggro decks? Makes sense.
I mean,
pretty aggro, you just have
don't,
Endure.
Don't get me wrong, I don't like Endure. I fucking hate Endures. I think it's a stupid deck. But it's probably the strongest deck, and it's seriously like it's not really being slapped on because on ladder it just gets wrecked by Hush.
Yeah, on ladder
But
it's
if you can ban
rough.
Hush,
yeah.
What else do you have left?
Yeah, I do like the idea. Like if you, and I've said this, if you like, Endure seems so bad to me right now because of like so many people playing Targon, and the problem with Targon is they just have access to like if you're versing an Endure deck and they have what's the card called, the one drop, the Spacey card. If they discover the silence,
Sketch, yeah.
they're just taking that 1 mana silence, and it's a permanent silence too. So literally, it's such a swing. Like you play your win condition, your 7 drop, they play a 1 mana discover effect for free, and it's like rip.
Yeah, but even just having Hush in hand, what do? Like you can't attack with the Endure because it just gets blocked as a 1/1, and you can't Atrocity because it just becomes a 1/1.
At the end of the turn, it becomes a 1/1, right? It doesn't like get its stuff back, right?
No, it does get its stats back after Hush, but
Really?
like the Endure dies the turn that it gets hushed.
Are you sure it gets
like
its attack back? I don't think it does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because like if you have a buffed up minion, right, and you hush it, do they get the buffed up stats back? I don't think they do.
They do.
Oh, they do?
Well, look what your chat is saying.
It does?
Fairly sure they should.
Okay.
What's your chat saying?
2 people said it does. Okay.
Yeah, no, but my point is, if you have to hush and Endure, it's always going to die the same turn, because you only hush and Endure if it either attacks or atrocities.
Yeah, atrocities. Gotcha. Yep. That makes sense. One question. So you have to Endure. Shadow Isle discard, right? Shadow Isle or discard. Oh, sorry, no. So yeah, it's just discard. We have Endure. Never mind. So my other question was scouts versus like the Lulu deck.
Yeah,
the Lulu's pretty aggressive too.
Like, yeah, I think scouts are straight up better, but Lulu is just about as good.
But the thing with Lulu deck is like, see, the thing is, I think they're both pretty good on the aggression, right? Scouts is probably slightly maybe better versus like, say, like control decks, right? I'd probably say scouts is better. But Lulu crushes all the other. Like if you verse another scout deck or an aggro deck, Lulu is so good with the support cards and the like they can gain tempo on you so easily.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't mind playing Lulu instead of scouts in that.
So Lulu might be a better choice. It definitely be an interesting. I think these are, and it's definitely hard to like say what is better right now because we haven't seen what like lineups like. This is like pretty much like the first tournament since the expansion. Like there was the Reckoning, but that's a 2-deck no ban, so it's a different format. And also decks are a lot more like, it's been like what, another whole week plus since then. So it's hard to do this without one knowing what everyone's actually going to bring, which becomes a lot easier later in the format. We get a better understanding and feel for what to expect. But also we haven't had time to playtest all these matchups. That's probably the biggest things, like playtesting scouts versus Lulu versus aggression, or scouts versus aggression, knowing which one's better and all the percentages overall. I think that's the hardest part about building a lineup super early in the meta right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's mostly like theory crafting tournament lineups realistically, like when you're playing such an early format. Alright, so there's one list. I like that. Do a discard Lulu Scout. Ban Targon.
Yeah,
like that seems like a solid strat.
Yeah, you could obviously, instead of playing Endures, you could bring, I don't know, Diana Nocturne aggro. Like there's some flexibility in that list. I think Endures was probably the second strongest deck at the end of last expansion, and it got a lot of new tools.
Yeah,
like it was stupid and busted, and now it's like more stupid and more busted, and it's just dumb. I don't know. I hate the deck.
That's fair.
I mean, Stalking Shadows is
It's insane. It's such a strong card.
yeah. In that list, like literally, you can pick whether you want to draw a Curse Keeper or an Endure whenever you need it, or like a Neverglade Collector.
I agree. So yeah, I think with that aggro lineup, it's either going to be Endure or Shadow aggro. Again, this would fall back into what we just said about testing matchups and see how. And this is like assuming we're banning Tarragon as well. So I guess the other lineup is like more like, so what do we agree if we were going to play like TF Swain plus? Yeah, I guess it was like a Targon deck plus Eskarma deck. That seems like the lineup. Plus Targon plus Eskarma.
Yeah, Eskarma is maybe debatable, but I also don't really see much you would want to play otherwise.
If you bring Eskarma, don't you want to? How does Eskarma do versus TF Swain?
Gets shut down.
Does it? Just too many like bombs.
Yeah, it's like they have enough removal so that it's really hard for you to stick both champions.
Yeah.
Because stun into Ravenous Flock at 4 mana kills one of your champs. And also you're generally like, if they draw Petty Officers and House Spiders, they outtempo you early on, and you are always slightly behind on board, and you're basically one turn behind, right? They can usually drop Swain or Leviathan when you don't have the mana on that turn to deal with it, which means you will it next turn or something, and they just replay it, or you Thermo Beam it next turn and they just play the second one or something.
All right.
Like they always have the slight advantage on board.
Yeah.
And it just chips you down.
And it shows a strong deck versus. It's going to be a strong deck. TF Swain is just going to be a good deck versus your other two decks anyway, regardless. So it's just a good strategy to probably ban such a strong deck right now. What I was going to get into now. So we pretty much have like two lineups. I think we've got the aggro lineup, which is like discard plus like Demacia deck, either Lulu or Scouts, or the Shadow Owl or Endure deck. And then there's also the TF Swain deck plus a Targon deck plus most likely Eskarma deck.
Yeah, that's flexible.
Or Deep. But do you think Deep might just be better than Eskarma? If we're banning
If Deep wouldn't run Bilgewater, it would be better, yes.
Oh, yeah. It's a banana.
No, yeah. There's obviously some flexibility in those lineups, but those are probably going to be the most common shells. I could imagine some people trying Eskarma plus Deep plus something else. And I could imagine some people trying... There has to be a good lineup with Twisted Fate Ezreal, to be honest. And maybe even with good old Ash.
Twisted Fate Ezreal. One thing I was going to say is if you do play Deep, that's actually... Deep is interesting in how you build it now with the new card. Are you saying like Deep with the Stalking Shadows, right?
Probably. I haven't
tested it either, but it seems so good in my head. It seems so good. Strong. It's like... Yeah, it seems so good. So Twisted Fate Ezreal, you're saying... Yeah, that deck seems good. Like, because like the thing with like the Bilgewater, right? Like, just T-Rex is like the nuts.
Yeah, and also just wait until people finally become smart enough to put Jack the Winner in Twisted Fate Ezreal. Like, it fills so many holes this deck had.
Really? Twisted
Think about it,
Jack.
You don't have any play between turn 5 and 7, at least no good unit, and you also kind of. You never had something you were happy about discarding with Dawn-Knight Urkin, and you were sometimes lacking face damage or plunder activators. And then now you have a 5-mana 5/6, which doesn't even need card text to be okay in the meta. And then it just has an insane card text.
Twisted Fate Ezreal. Trying to think. Swain still beats that deck, right? You'd have to ban Twisted Fate Swain if you're playing TF Ezreal?
I would need to ask some other people. Like Guardia told me it's probably one of the 2 or 3 toughest matchups for TF Ezreal, but for Swain TF.
Oh, really?
But it's that being said, it's probably at least 50-50 because it doesn't really have bad matchups.
Okay. All right. So you have like something like TF Ezreal, and then you could have like either Endure, TF Ezreal plus Endure plus a Targon deck, right? That seems pretty good. No?
Or like a Demas. Yeah, depending on whether you want to go fast. Yeah, if you bring Endures, you always want to ban Targon.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of getting towards.
But yeah, you could bring Lulu aggro and Endures, for example. you could bring. I mean, you still have Noxus available. Noxus is just a good region.
Yeah, that's true. You could, yeah, if you wanted Ash Sejuani. The thing is that the nerf kind of hits it. The making the 4-drop into a 5-drop, that 1 extra mana does hurt when you do try to play that card on like turn like 7 or 8, because of like it makes the difference of if you could play like an Ash after you draw so many cards, or a 3-drop you draw so many cards.
Yeah, for sure. Another problem is Ash Nox is not that good against TF Swain.
Reckoning's pretty strong right now, though, I think.
Yeah, Reckoning farms.
And the freezes, like having like
a lot.
Yeah.
Thing is, if your Ash Nox can force a ban, you're pretty happy.
One thing that I would be worried about that deck is, so one of the strongest things about that deck, like say Ash Nox versus Deep, right? If they play a 13/13, you could literally freeze it and then Culling Strike it.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to do that versus like Targon. So I think like again, this makes even more sense to have like Endure, that is a deck that you don't want to verse Targon. Then Ash Sejuani, I don't think you want to be versing Targon because the spell shields are annoying versus that deck, right?
Okay.
But it actually leads more into like a strategy of banning Targon. I could see that.
Yeah, that might make sense.
All right, I was gonna like, if you are cool, if we just build like 2 lineups, like talk about like the individual card decisions of like why we have like. So I think Eskarma is one of the greatest ones to explain that, like when you choose, why you choose to have like 1 deny or 3 denies or 2, same as Will, because that's very interesting, I think.
Sure.
So we can go with the Eskarma list. So we had Eskarma, Deep, and Deep is another deck that's also really great as well because of the flexibility, right? That's another great one. So Eskarma,
yeah.
Deep.
The removal is completely flexible.
Yep. And the third deck, we were just gonna say Trundle Aesol, right? Yeah, that seems good. Let's do that.
Yep.
Right,
Sounds like a solid lineup.
I'll grab import these decks. It's gonna lose a pretty much for a second. There's Karma. Yeah, actually, I'll grab an old Deep list.
Honestly, though, like Swain might just be too good not to bring.
Yeah, that's
so
generally the synod. Generally, yeah, especially if you can play it pretty well. And I'm pretty sure you're very comfortable playing that deck. You played it a lot.
Yeah, by now I am.
And I do think like the Swain mirror matches. How do you think that? Do you think there's much skill in that?
Well,
or is it just?
I think it has a very like the it has a very steep curve that flattens out quickly. So if you have no idea of the matchup and you play against someone who has some idea, you're gonna get smacked. But if you have 2 people who kind of understand the matchup, the skill margin is very detrimental, because then it mainly becomes who draws more Leviathans or who draws better removal for the other person's Swain.
Okay, well we can like
as soon.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
No, you go. You keep going.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as soon as both people start having a game plan, it matters a lot less who is the better player, and it matters a lot more who draws better.
Okay.
But against beginners, yeah, you can probably farm beginners in the mirror.
This is a bit off topic, but what do you think is like the most skillful mirror matches in the game at the moment? I have my idea already, but I was just curious about what your thoughts were.
Eskarma and then Invoke.
Yeah, I think Invoke's interesting because all the discover, but I think like always just Ezreal mirror matches to me have just been super interesting.
Yeah, 100%, because you kind of ditch everything you know about card games, because oftentimes you just don't want to play units.
Yeah, and then sometimes it all changes like game to game, depends on like, see, the thing is, it comes down to like your hand, like if you have a lot of minions and if you have to just force yourself to go tempo, or if they're just developing and then you have to, and you don't have the removal, then you have to develop your minions. And it's actually Ezreal mirror matches, I think, of just actually such a thing. It's so fun.
Yeah, you literally need to reevaluate every turn. Like your whole game plan, the direction.
Yeah,
like
every turn it can change a lot.
Yeah.
And it's always like chicken, right? Like it's a bit like a game of like a chicken every turn. Like so many times we both have 10 cards and I'm like, pass. And like it's pretty hard to weigh up in them decision when you both have nothing on board, and if you should go for the pass, like if you're happy with both burning a card, like that also that doesn't factor into like probably any other mirror matches except for like Ezreal generally.
Yeah, and you can also bluff in that case. Like you can tell your opponent, "I have everything I need to win,"
Yeah.
although you don't, and then they make the first action, and you just farm targets.
Yeah.
It's nutty.
Yeah. I fucking love his mirror matches. All right, so let's. So I've got Ez Karma here. Are you watching the stream or do you want me to share screen? What's easier?
I can watch the stream.
So this is just a generic list I've pulled off. So again, so if we've got Ez Karma, we're probably banning. It's either an aggro deck or probably Twisted Fate Swain, right?
I think you just about always want to ban TF Swain with that. No, you always want to ban TF Swain with that lineup.
Okay.
It literally claps all three of your decks.
Yep. All right, so we banned Twisted Fate, so we should be expecting aggro. So we want to keep in like early tools.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
I'll mulligan down like the like. I guess this is all pretty staple. The question I guess really just comes down like deny, will. Yone might be all right now because like if we're not banning Tarragon, like this actually still stops the 10 drop coming down, which seems pretty good actually in the meta right now. Like this actually might be one of the best metas for Yone. Now I'm thinking about it. What do you think about Yone actually?
I would probably run him as a one-off, but it's interesting because I don't think there's a lot of super effective mid-range decks running around. Like I would even count Leona Aesop to be rather control-y. And we have more like either aggro or like control combo. And there's not really much, like Bannerman type of mid-range decks. And therefore Yone hits the mid-range decks most, right?
Yeah.
And we should be tacking against aggro mainly. So that's why I generally think a one-off Yone is nuts in this deck. Because since you draw so much, it just represents it forces your opponent to open attack when they don't necessarily want to.
So I think the biggest question is like deny and will. How do we feel about like them as copies? That's the biggest question.
That's a good one.
I think one deny still seems fine to me. I don't know, like what matchups would we want two denies in?
Yeah, one deny seems fine.
Like okay, so the reason. The good deny thing is like I guess first of all the invoke discover cards, right? They're slow, and you can stop that. Either like you can stop all their obliterate cards, right, which helps protect your like Ezreal and Karma. It also stops the 7 mana that buffs their whole board by 2. Like so, deny does have I think more value now than it did before, like versus the Targon, like the Targon/invoke decks. But
yeah,
it doesn't do anything with those minions.
You probably just win against these decks anyway.
Yep.
By the way, you didn't pull up the deck list on stream.
Yeah, I just realized that because of I have the overlay. I just realized that. All right. Well, okay. So like, how many wills do we think though? Like, I've got 2 at the moment. That was just from what was pulled. It probably just you can't play 3. I don't think, right? Not with like deep meditations.
No. What you could do is like run 1 will, 1 whimsy, but that would rather be good against TF Swain than aggro, I think.
Wait, whimsy. You like this versus aggro more than will?
That's the question. It's a bit hard to say. Like whimsy is mainly a ladder-rat player to deal with Leviathan or like Endor.
Problem is like you don't have that many minions, right? Like ones if you can't kill a 1/1, you get kind of boned.
Yeah, it's only good if you have an Eye of the Dragon on deck. No, but it might just be like 2 will, 0 whimsy.
Yeah, I think I like that better. Still Tempest I have 2 of. I don't mind 3 Still Tempest, to be honest. I really like this
I
card.
usually run 3 Steel Tempest and 3 Rummages. And I would probably even take a health pot in there because we're most afraid of aggro.
I don't know if Hellpush is like great versus aggro. You like it versus aggro? I feel like Jerry Rig's better. I feel like Jerry Rig is actually really good right now. Like,
yeah, we can play Jury Rig. I don't mind.
I think Jerry Rig is so much better than Health Potion because, like, that could, yeah.
Just saying, yeah, like a 1 mana burst speed spell potentially.
Okay, so the other, yeah, to heal. But the thing is, like, so versus aggro, the only problem with Health Potion, it's like 1 mana heal 3. Like, you're not really going to be able to, like, get the double effect from Karma.
No, the point is it
Oh.
generates if it generates a Dragon Link
I
and
know the
your
card.
deep mat gets discounted.
I figured it out, Lobster, what card we should be playing. I figured
And
it
it
out.
is?
What?
What is it?
What card did you say?
No, I asked, and it is question mark.
Oh wait, maybe I've got the wrong regions. Wait, no. Oh, Tasty Faux Folk. As if we're not playing 3 of these cards, aren't we? Like, doesn't Tasty Faux Folk just take out Shadow Assassin's position like so perfectly?
Kind of, but then what do you cut? I could see it as a 2-off.
It seems so
good.
good. Like, think about it like as a health potion. Like, think about like, so this is like a Shadow Assassin that draws like a free health potion. Almost like a 4/2. Like, I think you play a 3 of these card actually. Like, healing 4 is insane.
Yeah, I don't mind it. But we need to make space.
Yeah. So I think we have to cut 2 cards. I kind of want to play.
You could cut like 1 Chump Wump, 1 Rummage.
How many Chump Wumps are we playing? Oh.
I play 3 and 3.
Oh, okay. So my list is actually so over right now. Holy shivers.
Your list is still not up on stream, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I have to overlay. Okay. I can share my screen with you if that helps. That help? I can send you. Do you want to send me your list? Or do you want me to send you my list?
Yeah, I don't have it open anywhere right now.
You're not in Runeterra. Which that's fine. We can just keep going off this then. Claws. Let me go back to start. Yeah, I think that card is actually kind of like a big buff to this deck, especially after losing.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, I think that like really helps like versus. It's really good versus like the even mid-rangey decks, right? Like 4 attack is so good. It kills everything. Yeah, Tasty Faux Folks going in, boys.
Yeah, the problem is it loses to Mystic Shot, but no, it's not even that horrible.
Yeah, that's not.
You trade a 3-mana card for a 2-mana card.
If you versing P and Z, the only problem, yeah, no, I think, yeah, that Tasty Folks awesome. Yeah. I think I got the list. What card? Hey, one question I was going to ask you is: do you think you could ever run 0 deniers?
You could.
And also one Will of Ionia. Is that much of a consideration? You don't like that?
I'm not sure if that hurts your matchup against Invoke too much. Like, reason being, yeah,
you can't get excited.
No,
Interesting.
Wait, my list has to be somewhere. Where did I play it last? Because
I think if you're playing like what's his name, the Chump Wump, you need like the get excited becomes a lot better. I have an idea for a list. Oops. Something like this. You were playing 3 rummages, eh?
Yeah.
Seems a lot.
Seems just the right amount. I don't know.
What's your discard fodder? Just Chump Wumps?
Yeah, and whatever you don't need in the current matchup.
If you play, you're playing gotchas too, I'm guessing.
Yep, like 2.
How do you feel about gotcha and get excited though, verse? Because like you were thinking about this verse, like versus these controlled, like these invoke decks, right? Like having get excited, like see the thing with get excited, having 2 get exciteds, it means you can actually just win with Karma. Like you don't even need Ezreal. Like it definitely gives you that potential. And if you don't get excited, you just don't have that like kill with Karma potential.
I realized like I forgot that because I ran it in a lineup that always banned as Karma, and I kind of forgot that top cut of DOR is best of 5. And the Karma Ezreal matchups were actually horrible without get excited. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, so I think I want to play 2 get excited, 2 gotchas.
Yeah, I can't find my deck right now. I've deleted it from the client, and it's like,
yeah,
somewhere lost on Twitter.
Like all these like tech shows comes down to like what like predictions really, like what we're going to be predicting or facing.
I mean, the idea is like we don't need to perfectly tech a deck right now, right? The idea is just to show the thought process. So what you generally want to do with tech choices is, so you keep in mind the most common lineups, that you keep in mind you always ban the scariest deck and you never tech for that. Then you ban, like you tech your decks for the next worst matchup, because you don't need to tech your deck for matchups you're already winning unless you are sure that every single person plays it. Unless you play this matchup like every set, every series.
And it's also about just beating their worst deck, right? Like it's not about beating their best deck, it's about beating the worst deck, really. If their worst deck can't get a win, then you win.
Yeah, that's also an idea in Conquest. But generally, yeah, since as Karma is already favored against Ace-All decks, you don't have to put a third will in there. You rather, if you expect to see a reasonable amount of aggro, you rather put a third Steel Tempest in and like a tasty Feyfolk or Health Pot or whatever you feel like.
Yeah.
Just more early game anti-aggro stuff.
Well, see, I actually feel like Health Potion's kind of not what you like. See, I think we differ because versus aggro, I would rather Gotcha, Get Excited, Tasty Feyfolk, like these cards than than Health Potion. Like I don't think I would ever put Health Potion in now.
That's reasonable. Yeah, I mean, I don't run Health Pot for the. I wouldn't run Health Pot for the 3 healing. I would run Health Pot for
the
2/1 Dragon
right?
Link.
Yeah. That's
get a 3 mana Deep Med.
But yeah, that makes sense, especially like rummaging, right? Like as well, you've got cheap things, and like that's a fair point. Like, and that's what I did say to people before. Like that's what Health Potion is, and you shouldn't look at it as like 1 mana heal 3. It's like 1 mana heal 3, summon a 2/1 blocker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, well, the only problem that I think that why, like, actually, I do like Health Potion, but I think just Jerry Rig is just going to be the nuts right now with like 3 Rummage, because yeah, I'm gonna try to build the deck with like maybe like 3 Rummage, 2 Jerry Rigs, and just sort of work off that. That seems really solid to me. And Rummage, to Get Excited.
Feyfolk. Yeah, sure. Feyfolk's also a good idea. It's just like test it a bit.
Yeah, I'm probably going to lean, by looking at the space, it's probably going to be 2 Feyfolks, not 3. But I'll test it out to see how it does. Because like I think in this game, people forget how much like healing 3 is, and healing like look at like what's his name, the 3-drop, right, that heals 3. That's kind of like, obviously Feyfolk's not as good as that, especially because of the health, but in essence it potentially can perform the exact same, if not heal a little bit more than the the Freylord card. I can't think so bad with this.
Do you mean Tavern Keeper?
Yeah, Tavern Keeper. That's sort of how I'm looking at Feyfolk. I think it's worse, but still, the fact that like healing 4 is what, 1/5 of your total health pool. That's a lot.
Yeah,
but yeah. So hopefully, like, I think this could. The only problem is like, so the problem that is though is versus Shadow Isles, Feyfolk does seem potentially a lot worse, like because of Caretaker, right? And there's also Diana.
Yeah. The problems I see is Caretaker, Fleet Feather Tracker, and Mystic Shot. In all 3 decks, they have one way of dealing with it, and like if Caretaker or Tracker pull it to the very left, you might not get any healing off.
I will say though, like most of these cards shouldn't be a problem relatively. That the fact that we should be able to deal with Fleet Tracker pretty well, and same with Diana. We should be able to keep it alive from getting easy value to get value on the following turn, ideally, especially with like gotchas and that.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know about Yone either anymore. I don't know. I'm losing faith in the Yone. If I have to, I think like Yone's, it's so good, but
try it.
Yeah, just try one, see how it goes. It's definitely better in like a tournament where like open deck format. So like that's another thing that should be noted. So Yone is different. Like the fact that we played it in a tournament is also to represent our opponent to think more and question open attacking and allow them to make mistakes from like not because the thing is, generally this deck you always want to develop because most of the times they're going to have reactionary spells. So like if you develop they're still just going to play their spells anyway. It's not really going to get punished. Except I guess there's Concessive Palm, and then there's also Yone. So that's what changes that, which is interesting. That pretty much sums it up. I was gonna, just because you haven't played Deep much, hey?
Not since the patch. I played it a lot back in the days.
Yeah, same. I'm so interested. I really do want to try. I think I'm gonna actually play Deep tonight with the new Shadow Isle card and test that as well. See how that goes.
Sure, it's probably good.
Yeah, that card is nuts. The card is, yeah. Especially do you know what I just realized, Lobster? Oh my gosh, that card's actually way more insane than I actually just realized. So why that card becomes a lot better, right? So imagine once you have Norlis on board, you could literally just discover, and like you're playing like a 1 or 2 mana like sea monster, right? Like you can literally just flood the board so much easier as well. Like, that's kind of
nutty. You can just get a free Devourer. Like you don't care about it having Ephemerate
and dying. Yeah, it's like still 7/7. It's just also a way to finish the game. Like literally, if you on your turn you have Norlis plus, and then in your next you play Norlis during your opponent's turn, and then during your turn you have that. Like you're pretty chill. Of course,
the card's good at every stage of the game.
Yeah, early, mid, late. Yeah, that's actually really interesting. The other question I would ask, like, Runation. So how do you think Runation's positioned in this format? Because Runation's always been a questionable card in Deep, so it's kind of interesting to discuss how many Runations you would predict to play. Like none or one. You think it's lost value or gain value?
It's an open deck list. 1 is probably interesting. 2 is probably overkill, although I generally don't like one-off spells in Deep. Because I don't know. It's something that needs testing.
Same with Atrocity too, right?
I think Atrocities you still want to play.
Because you're trying to... in one of the lineups where you played Deep, right? It was like a combo Deep, right? Like a lot of combo things to just...
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if everyone plays as Karma, you need to finish the game at some point.
How do you feel about Withering Well in the current format? I feel like that card doesn't feel great. But
with Kex, it feels great.
With Kex. Yeah. There's a lot of 2 health minions in the game now. Yeah. Withering Well, I think I'll probably be leaning towards cutting now because of like the shift of like decks. I don't know if I would play that new 2 mana card. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think I would. What's it called? Unspeakable Horror?
Oh, the new Vile Feasts?
Yeah. That's another interesting card.
It's interesting, but I think Vile Feast is better.
Yeah, I think having the 1/1 blocker is just so good. Like in so many scenarios, it's just like healing you so much. Yeah, pretty happy with this. All right, no, that's pretty much it. I think that's I think Deep and the Karma was like the most interesting ones. I can sort of write something about that. And like I think the main things that also is mentioned, like to talk about, is like just how open list has implementations into like deck building. Because it literally changes why you play a one of, like that we mentioned, 1 Runation, potentially 2 Runations, because Deep has toss mechanics. So once you toss a Deep, then you lose. So in Deep you could play like 2 Runations for the same effect, because you're more likely to toss a Runation, and then once you toss a Runation, then you lose the whole point of playing that sort of threat. But in general,
but also, as long as it hasn't been tossed, you could always represent it.
Yep.
But as Karma, the one of Yone is just so good, because on average you draw through 2/3 of your deck in a game. So the likelihood of you having Yone is higher than in a deck that doesn't draw that much.
Yep. I'll mention all the Yone cards and the 1 mana spells. 1 mana spells with Dragonling. Eye is impactful, and Yone / one-offs. Alright, no, that's pretty much it. Was there anything else you think like I should write down or include in the article about like just general like prepping or like deck building? Like the key thing, because I think like the open list implementation's the thing, and predictions. I think that's pretty much it.
I think that covers most of it. I mean, just scrim. So you get actually, it's like you need to get it like experience in the matchups.
No, that's actually a
have
good
a game
note. I
plan.
don't think enough people scrim because ladder isn't the same. Like, because when you're prepping for a tournament, you want to scrim specific matchups to test your tech and see how the tech is working out. Really, like to see how much of a difference it makes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think actually scrimming is actually a very good note you should. Trying to think of any last words. Oh, have you played Scouts much, by the way?
No, 0 games.
I think I'm a big fan of I don't play Bannerman. I play Navigator now. I don't like Bannerman.
It's reasonable. I could see that be good.
It's just like the body of Navigator. Like, so I actually hated Navigator last time Scouts were popular, and now I love it. Like the 2-4 body feels so good right now. That's something.
Yeah, I could see that be good. Honestly.
Alrighty, I think that's it. Ramp ASOL deck. Sunburst is such a cool card for tournaments. Man, Sunburst counters Endure too, man. I just realized.
Yeah, sorta.
Yeah, Argon. It just
Not as hard as Hush, but yeah.
yeah.
At
least they're in the same region.
Atrocity over the top. Yeah.
Imagine if Sunburst was in like a different region. Huh. That would have been fucking cool. Alrighty. One thing I was gonna say, when you were talking about combo decks, right? You said Karma plus Deep. The other third deck I was gonna say, which is kind of like a meme, most likely. I don't think it would, but also Lee Sin plus. Oh, it's Karma. I mean, you play like Deep, a different Ezreal deck, like Ezreal Targon maybe, and then like you can play like Lee Sin Noxus. But I don't know if that Lee Sin Noxus is probably trash.
OTK Lee. It also gets wrecked by Hush though.
Yeah.
Like both Maokai and like both Deep and Karma don't have that many problems with playing against Hush.
Okay, yeah, I get you. Yeah, so you want to leave the Targon up. So your third deck, you want to be like not getting not to be like a good deck versus the deck that you're banning. That's actually one thing to also mention. If you're banning a deck most of the time, you don't need tech for it. I mean, like, I need to explain that better, but yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if your strategy is to ban X deck, then don't have tech that's going to be good on that deck because you're going to be banning it out anyway, so yeah. Alrighty. Alright, I'm going to test these decks and play some games.
Yeah. I mean, I need to start doing some other stuff.
No worries, bro.
Anyway.
Alright. If you want to... Wait, how long until you start streaming?
I'm... No idea. It depends on how quickly I get the other stuff done.
Alright, send me a message if you want to maybe scrim some games later. I might scrim, or if you just want to play ladder, that's cool as well. I'm not even master yet, so... But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet if I get around to actually streaming and playing today.
No worries, man. Alright, I'll let you go do your thing. Thanks again, Lobster. Yep. I'll put your channel in chat. Anyone go check him out. And your thing will be in the article as well when I post it. It's TCG or CCG?
CCG. Dude, if you could also add a YouTube link, that would be amazing. I'm really trying to grow that.
No worries. I'll put... What's your YouTube channel? I'll put that in chat as well.
Wait, I just... I send it to you and I also send it to chat. 1 second. That's the Twitch. I think you already had that. And
check out my YouTube channel too while you go to YouTube and check out Lobsters.
Wait. Get rid of this.
Yeah, your YouTube channel going well. Like, you got like over 1K. You've had over like you're like almost at 2K now, or?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. So
yeah, but I've also it's taken a lot of time, like a lot of effort. But some
of these videos.
Yeah. I try to edit all of them, and especially the guides. Like, I try to make actually good guides, and you need to put so much work into
the sad part.
The guide having good examples and
stuff. The one thing is though, like with like you notice like there's some videos that take no effort and they just get more views than the videos that you put in like a lot of effort for, and that's like
yeah. That's something you can barely control. It's weird.
But you're very
just pop up.
Yeah, no, it seems like YouTube's doing well. They consistently all get like a good amount of views. That's solid. It's good. All right, I'll talk to you later, Lobster Man. Thanks again for your time and chatting about some decks. So hopefully we can hopefully some of these chats can helps them and they can do well in this weekend's qualifier. All right, see you, bro.
Yeah. So are you gonna play? You're not gonna play, you said, right?
No. I've got my son this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, have a good one. Nice chatting to you.
See you, bro. Bye.
See ya.